Alan, we are not hearing you. You are silent. You need to fix that somehow.
Lower left corner, Alan, to unmute.
8x11 cards, and you can write what you want to say and hold it up to the camera.
Well,
I learned how to put backdrops on for all the Zoom calls at work. So that's
Okay.
one of the Shimano factory scenes from Malaysia.
Am I there?
Yes,
there.
Barb Shively.
Hi, everybody.
This lady worked with Len Pettyjohn for over 50 years.
Youngin.
I don't hardly think so, but it felt like it. No.
Coors Classic stage winner, San Francisco.
Oh, jeez. Nice.
Wow.
You didn't go off into the bay?
No, I almost did with Greg LeMond. I remember I took him out. He was so pissed. I was going for a $450 premium. I took him out in that fucking thingy. He probably threw. Here, look at that.
Pass me one of those, Alan, would you?
This is the only Coors Classic cat I have. I lost all the other ones.
What do you mean lost them? How do you lose them?
Wives took them.
So
you're gonna hide them from your wives.
Oh, they fucking robbed them on me. You see it? It's too big on me right now. My body shrunk as I got older.
Well, you're the only one in that category.
Shrink.
That's it. You know, Cool gotta turn Rachel Maddow off and get him in here, is what she said. Rachel Maddow. Surprise!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday,
Hey, Len.
Go ahead, give him a.
Danette, in the upper right-hand
He looks
corner
stunned.
is Danette, in the upper right-hand corner is gallery. So go.
It doesn't look like a happy face, Len.
No.
What do you, if you were this age, you wouldn't be happy either.
Len, did we keep you up a little too late?
Look at McCormack down there drinking already. Hey, Len, special guest Christine Rivers is with us up here somewhere. And
Nice.
I dredged her up from Detroit.
Yep.
And there she is looking awesome. And Christine, by the way, for the rest of you
Hi,
guys,
Len. Happy birthday.
Christine ran the Saturn cycling program. So,
what Christine would happy to be here is Danette was a Saturn dealer.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm not proud of that, actually. You shouldn't tell Christine.
Sorry, Christine. The end was kind of rough.
Yeah, it was for all of us.
Yeah.
Trust me.
and look, we got Barbie. Alexi Grewal is joining us.
Hiya, Len. How you doing?
I see you scraped all these people together. It's like I can't even believe you got Moninger too. So how'd you capture him?
Where's Alexi? I don't see him.
Alan, when you went into Grand Junction, who did you go to the line with? Was it Alexi?
No, right.
Roy.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
And was it Bob?
Bob wrote, no, that wasn't Dale. He was pissed. Remember, he put me into the fence.
Alexi, welcome. There's Pettyjohn. He's 80 years old. Can you believe that?
So I have to say, this is the first time in my life that I don't feel like I could ride my age. And I'm not happy about that at all. But,
Have you tried? Come on, you got to try.
no, the last couple months have not been that great. So I've been going through a whole lot of issues going back to the original bike injury. And then and Wayne knows very well about the crash a year ago. He was right on our wheel. So I don't know whether you guys know much about that or have you forgotten about it, but it was not pretty.
That was a terrifying crash to see in slow motion.
Yeah.
Or in
Oh,
fast
no.
motion?
Len, move over. That dog is coming. Oh, shit. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Boom.
You got taken out by a dog, Len?
A dog came into his front wheel from the side. Danette was burning up the road in the rain, going downhill out ahead, and the dog was chasing her, and Len just happened to be collateral damage. Although I've never been able to find that dog. I've gone out there looking for it a number of times with some mace to.
Yeah.
But I've been unfortunate. The dog's been fortunate, or maybe he died.
Well, the dog had to have gotten hurt because we were going. I mean, I went back and looked at my Garmin later. We were going 35 miles an hour. And basically, I saw the dog flash just coming at an angle. And Danette jumped right at that time and opened it like a half a bike length gap. So the dog just turned right back at me and took out my front wheel. And basically, I high-sided. So when I came down, I broke everything on the right side. So it's been a.
But now he's got a new hip and he's all better.
Well, that part, that's a big.
Well, you could probably whip me, so you're good.
Len, what about your rivalry with Och? All those years, man.
No, there was never a rivalry.
Those were not rivalries, not anything close to a rivalry.
They never. No, we were.
We only competed for car position.
Yeah.
No, Len, we got a great friendship in the peloton together, and experienced all the ups and downs of professional bike racing in America in a very spirited competition between Coors and 7-Eleven for so many years.
You whooped us every time.
No, that's
You
not true.
whooped us every time.
No, that's untrue. No, we weren't. It was an even Steven at the end of the day, and that's where Len and I fought for car position. So he could drive car one, and I'd get the car back one next day, and he'd take it back the third day.
Yep.
So that's how we moved around the races.
Yeah.
Fun times.
We probably shouldn't tell Aisner any of these things because
No,
he thought everything was on the up and up. So
he couldn't see everything where he was in that car way up in the front, you know.
Todd's got a cool.
We knew where he was all the time. We kept tabs on Aisner, and then we knew what we could do or not do.
I just pulled up right before the call 2 bins with about 100 jerseys in them, and I was like, oh hell, I gotta find them fast. All these leaders jerseys and jerseys that Alexi won and gave me, and I found not only the Coors Light, but I found the first one I rode for you for.
okay, so there was a really
I thought I had the black one. The first one I had was black, but I can't find it. Remember the black jerseys, the Panasonic ones?
Oh yeah, I remember those.
I don't know.
There's somebody in cycling that
one.
somebody had a black jersey in cycling.
Yeah, that was the original Panasonic one.
Alan, that was the Coors team, Coors Light.
Yeah. You see it? Hang on, I'll show you again. Hang on. Remember that?
That's a good picture.
Yeah.
There's Len Pettyjohn. Look, he's all young, sleek, and slim.
That's like a third of a century ago.
There you go.
It seems like yesterday to me.
Oh, don't.
By the way, Go-Go still fits in all those jerseys.
See Gaggioli down there, Mike Carter.
I see more of Gaggioli with his son, who's racing all the time now. So
and Sinoli passed away, didn't he?
Yes, he's gone.
Yeah, Zanoli's passed away. Miguel Arroyo also, I think, has passed away. And he's in that picture on the left. Zanoli.
Everybody fight in that team. Never really got along in that team.
Yeah, like Finney and Zanoli at the end of that race in Philly. Maybe it wasn't Philly. It was
We're not going to talk about that, Mike.
Okay.
Is that the one Kent
actually,
Grosjean
out of
like
that
a boxing match?
So out of that came Zanoli obviously had left the team, but then Och hired him. and then after that encounter, and Zanoli got thrown out, and then he went to Motorola. Och called me one day and he goes, "Why didn't you tell me he was such an asshole?" I said, "Well, you never asked."
Christine, there was a full-out fisticuffs. Fisticuffs between.
He was a big sweetheart, I can tell you. He was, of course, a giant of a man.
Yeah, he was.
And but he was a real
He
sweetheart.
was a giant.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was a good guy at heart. He was a good guy at heart.
Guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes
He's a good
people
guy.
get a little bit carried away in the middle of a bike race.
Well, Alexi can tell you what a sweetheart he was.
No, that
Came
never
into-
happened.
I came into a room one time and Alexi and Zanoli were arguing. And that was just the biggest mistake Alexi had ever made because he called Zanoli a name. And I looked over and Zanoli had Alexi by the neck with his little hand completely around Alexi's neck. And Alexi was going, "Ugh, ugh, ugh." And one of my
Was that
massage therapists was trying to pull him away and couldn't even make it in. And Alexi almost was passed out before Zanoli finally let him go. So yeah, he was a real sweetheart.
Yeah. And he had the biggest hands in the world, as you said.
Well,
His hand completely wrapped, one hand completely wrapped around Alexi's neck.
He should have put me out of my misery then, but I deserved it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zanoli was a good guy. So
Rest in peace.
Pretty impressive to watch him pull up halfway through a ride, eat a pint of Haagen-Dazs, and jump back on the bike.
2 years ago, Len called me up out of the blue and said, it's time for people in the sport who made money to give back. And it just blew my mind. You know, we're always fighting to even be able to fund what we're doing and always start the year with not enough money for our aspirations. And in light of now and this year with USA Cycling ending any development, no national team coaches, no national team trips, no help to us in any way. It's, you know, for us to have anybody move on to U23 teams on the men's side, they have to be in Europe. So Len's helped me this year fund. We've had 11 kids based out of Innsbruck since the end of June. Our junior women, because there's just no racing for them, they're flying over today to race in Holland and then in Ireland before the Worlds. And the efforts, you know, we have is 3 of the 4 women, 3 of the 4 men at the Junior Worlds will be from the organization that Len's helping me with. So, you know, hats off for him. Thank you, Len and Danette.
The genesis for that goes back to when I very first got involved in cycling. And at that time, I was helping a bunch of junior kids, including Farmer and that whole group of guys who raced against Roy. So my motivation was whenever we could beat Roy, I knew I had really good guys. And so this battle, you talk about a battle that went on for years. It was our junior team that had a number of them ended up as Olympians and champions, national champions, and so on. But David was one of the key guys. So he knows the whole history and story behind racing against Roy. And I thought, well, the least I can do is sort of return to my roots. And that's when I created this endowment fund for Roy. So as long as I can make money in the market, Roy gets a nice chunk of cash each year. So it's just something I think all of us, as we've gone through the sport and benefited, we should cherish all of our relationships and try to help one another out.
And I was telling Alan McCormack, I came from the East Coast, showed up at the training center, and you slotted me in immediately with my heroes, which was quite heady stuff. I had posters on the wall, and then within years, they were my teammates. So it was a pretty pivotal moment for me. That's for damn sure.
It was funny. I remember talking to Farmer's parents, and they were going, well, we can indulge David's little interest in cycling for a couple of years, but we expect that he's ultimately going to grow up and mature and whatever and forget about cycling. But
oh well,
it doesn't seem to happen.
Once we're hooked, that's it.
That's it. I went to Switzerland with Farmer, and was it Switzerland or was it the Tour of Baltic?
We were in Leningrad. I remember having a philosophical argument with you, Michael, about toilet paper and how the Russian toilet paper was so harsh, and you were saying the U.S. had too many choices in toilet paper, and we argued about it for hours.
still have some of it upstairs. I show it to people. It was wax, and we were wondering why the Soviets were so irritable all the time. They had this wax paper. You couldn't get anything with the paper. I don't need to go into details, but maybe I just did.
Do you remember your 50th birthday?
Do you? I remember, but you don't.
Yeah, no. Yes, I do remember waking up on the toilet floor the next morning, and I was a bit of a mess. But
a bit of a mess. Roy,
hey, I'm throwing myself under the bus.
Oh my God, are you ever?
Yeah.
So my 50th birthday was epic, and Roy made it beyond epic. And like all good cyclists, they never know when to stop drinking. And Roy managed to wedge himself in the bathroom of my house, throwing up on the floor and wedged against, so I couldn't get the door open. And I thought I would call his wife.
I wasn't much of a drinker, okay?
I asked if she could come and get him. And she goes, "How did he get there?" And she hung up on me.
I think.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm not married anymore. But anyway. But the trick was, because I think Anjay was there, and we're sitting on coolers behind your house, and we're passing around a bottle of Buffalo Grass vodka. And
Vodka, yeah.
Every time, and Buffalo Grass vodka is good, you know, and you would bring it there. And every time we'd run out, I think it was Swart who would mysteriously pull another bottle out of nowhere. I swear there was like, I think we drank 5 or 6 bottles of that stuff.
So,
which didn't go well for me, obviously, but or his bathroom. But anyway, that was pretty epic, I would say.
My next door neighbor put their house up for sale. They'd only been there for like a couple months, but they put their house up for sale the week after that party, because Swart was throwing chicken bones and chicken stuff all over the roof of their house and screaming on top of the fence. And the entire group, people were so drunk, they were dragging one another around the block. And a number of mine looked at their shoes the next day. The toes were all removed from the shoes because they'd been dragging one another around. And Roy was just beyond comprehension. He doesn't remember most of what went on. And he didn't wake up for almost 2 days. He was so drunk.
Anyway, so yeah, I try not to do that anymore. But epic party. Anyway, that's my memory. You know, one other thing, Lendo, I would like to say, as a director, you know, the personalities that you were able to bring together, to have Davis, to have, and I don't think it was Davis and Sinole at the same time, but Alexi and Engelman and myself, and make us work as a unit was pretty impressive. And then the efficiency you were able to run the team. I mean, I've taken cues from that in how I do things with the forward planning and the efficiency of spending and linking things together and getting the most, you know, the most race days for the riders. So, you know, I do want to compliment you on that. And, you know, even to the point of strategically racing against you before I rode with you, you know, just the classic way in which you rode guys and bridged guys to other guys. And, you know, it was common sense, but a lot of people didn't have common sense and understand bike racing like you did. And this isn't just, oh, it's your birthday, I'm going to make you feel good. No, I want you to feel good. It's your birthday. But for real, you know, there are a lot of things I took from my time racing with you. And even when I wasn't, a lot of respect for your skill and your craft in the position you had. And I appreciate it, and I've learned from you.
I appreciate that. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
And by the way, to take that one step further, as a race director, I mean, he did that Boulder to Breckenridge race with Christine, and it was extraordinarily pulled off in a way that one couldn't imagine. And I sat down as a former race director and kind of put him through it because I was representing Saturn at the time, and I really looked at every detail, and they were all there. Oh my God, road, and all the coverage of it was just magnificent. We had satellite phones because it was the only way that you could get any. Anyway, he did a beautiful job, and I have to hand it also to Barb for just being there with Len all the time. And anytime we needed to get anything out of Len, it was the only way we could get anything out of Len was Barb, and she was the focal point of his whole life and operation. I had mine, Kay, who I lost this year. And so I know what that's like. But anyway, Barb, to you as well.
Well, thank you, Michael. But you know, Len that always had the final say. I mean, whenever I put together a map or anything like that, he always had something to nudge and something to fix. And I got really good at accepting edits.
The whole success, the whole thing that ran that I didn't have to worry about was Barbara was probably the most thorough, most complete person you will ever meet in terms of attention to detail. And I discovered her when she worked with Mike Plant, and she was the operations director for the Tour DuPont and for all that racing that Plant was doing. But prior to that, she had worked with one of the biggest rock and roll promoters in the world in Denver. And so she learned organization and how to organize and create, master plans that people could follow. So just turned everything over to her, and it always looked good. So she made everybody look good.
You guys are all the greatest people. Just the greatest people. Just a treasure to see you all. Och, especially you and Len and everybody. You're just the greatest people.
Where are you, Alexi?
I'm at the ranch. I live on my dad's ranch. It's just good to see you all. It's good to see you, Och, and so many memories of everybody. Of course, it's Len's birthday, and Len did a lot for a lot of people, and was a remarkably even-keeled person, and he should have advised me to get out of cycling when I was about 15, but he didn't do that.
I think one of the great testaments really to Len is the way he handled the end of the Coors Classic when Alexi was out, and he kept telling him, stay with it, keep riding, keep riding, keep riding, to Alexi, who went on to win, a gold medal in the Olympic Games. And, I just have always admired Len's perseverance and his focus and the way he absolutely can keep his eye on the ball. And that is exactly what helped make that whole thing work. Because, how deflating to be bounced out of a race and all of that. He just kept him going and came to the finish line victorious. It was beautiful. And Len, bow your way on that one.
I was going to say, we all kind of are talking around some of the same common elements that we all felt with Len. Len, the way you built these teams, I was a beneficiary of coming in to your program with such an experienced rider in Alexi, and it was like the synergy and the way we all worked together was so incredible. And Alexi was this guy that I was scared to death of when I started racing with him, because I had raced against him and he was such a fierce competitor. And as a teammate, he was so incredibly helpful, but almost
on a Zoom call,
scary because he was just such a fierce competitor, and he would whip us into to do the tactical right thing when sometimes we were getting wishy-washy. And So I remember that with a lot of vividness, just the way the team worked together. And I will also say that we had so much respect for you, Len, as riders, that I don't even think you ever really had to like get on us for screwing up the race, because
there were plenty of things to get on you for.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily the racing, right? And after the end of the race, if we lost the race, we hung our heads in shame for failing our team and failing the organization and failing you. And so like we took your direction and we bottled it up in this group of people and just did everything we possibly could to win. And I think the final part of that is, I don't know if I gave you the name Petty Post or not.
Yeah.
But I think I probably did. And, it was kind of like, well, Peter Post running the Panasonic team, this powerhouse squad in Europe, and was known as being kind of a hard ass, or at least that's what we thought. I didn't know him. And just, a very strong program. And you never really had to discipline us because we were so respectful of your vision that we took it all upon ourselves.
Moninger, you won the race up to Breckenridge, Christine's race, and but you weren't. Len was the promoter of the race. You weren't on his team at that point.
No, but he told me that he created that race specifically to torture me for 6 hours or whatever it was, 7 hours. Yeah, and he did. He succeeded.
I always wanted guys who could figure out a lot of ways to win races. And so Scott's win was an example of the beauty of a guy figured out the terrain, the equipment, and everything. And I have to tell you one side, a lot of you guys remember John Warden. Warden had the Mercury team, and he was absolutely furious that Moninger was up the road, and he absolutely trashed his team car trying to catch Scott with his own guy and actually ruined the suspension on his team car. So it was one of those races that people were going, what is with this whole Saturn thing and this race over gravel and ridiculously difficult conditions.
And so now my big interest with Len is buying his old cars. So when his next car wears out, give me a call. I might be ready for a newer one.
If you come to Florida and drive the car I have now, you'll want it right away. But this goes back to, I was in Boulder one day and we were at Mo's house and Wayne was there and he goes, wow, that's kind of a cool car. You ever think you're going to sell it? And I said, yeah, I'll let you know. So a couple of years later, I called him up. I said, I'm going to sell my car. And so we worked out a deal.
And I bought the car and drove it home.
I wanted to say about that Boulder Breckenridge race, the one thing, besides it was beautiful, it was a great race, but the thing that sticks with me, I don't know if you remember this, the gun goes off in Boulder and we all take off, and I did the whole ride on a motorcycle, which was really awesome, but we forgot my boss back in Boulder. You remember that? Like Tony Peratino, he's like going around having a great time. The gun goes off, we all take off, and he's all of a sudden he's left standing alone.
We also left Aisner in downtown Boulder on one of the, because he's walking around, and we're telling everybody, you got to get in your cars now. Michael's running around talking to everybody, and then
have a
standing there all by himself, and the race is gone.
I was on the microphone with Jeff Roque, who, by the way, sends his love and wishes today. Jeff is, not speaking anymore, but he and I are communicating all the time. And I told him that we were going to have this, and he says, well, I won't join, but I just want to send my love to Len. He's just a great spirit in the sport of cycling and was the curator of so many great athletes' lives. It was just great. And he's the race announcer. Al MacDonald, did you just join us with a beard?
Right, Al, we're rounding up. So any Len story?
Not that people want to hear.
Okay.
Are you sure?
Fair enough. We've told a few.
Yeah, I just want to pile on about Len. I mean, he really was influential in my life, as probably most people who interacted with him. But at least during my era, it was sad, but I think it was to me, it's one of his primary characteristics of his career with cyclists was that when I was racing from 15 on, there was an endless series of new teams that would come along and try and assemble better teams. And they would just throw the top guys and the results together and expect magic to happen. And it was always a characteristic of Len's teams that it was a team effort and it was very even. And he really had the knack for taking a group of guys, some of them pretty unknown, and beating guys with all the top names at the top. That we had a synergy that frequently outdid people that looked better than us on paper. And I think that was really an extension, Len, of your egalitarian attitude that the sum could be way more than the parts. And that was one of the reasons my entire career was with you. And I really appreciate that from the get-go. I remember being a teenager and thinking, wherever this guy goes, it's going to work for me, because it was so easy that way.
To amplify that, it goes back to Davis Finney, when Davis was still an amateur and he was winning all the races, and those are all the local races in Boulder. So I had assembled a group of really just ragtag, basically just, scrappy junkyard dog type riders. And none of them could equal Davis. But as a group, every time Davis would attack, 3 or 4 or 5 of them would start chasing. And they'd catch Davis, and then Davis would look back over his shoulder and he goes, "Oh, you assholes, you're just a bunch of chasing dogs. Can't you race?" So then they started going, bark, bark. And so they chased Davis down for like 2 or 3 years. They chased him down. Every time they catch him, they go, bark, bark, bark. And finally, towards Davis, the end of his career, he goes, "All right, I really want to ride on your team now." So it was kind of a complete circle that Davis finally recognized that there was power in the group. And so he ended his career racing with our team as well. But it was really funny that, a group of guys motivated can make it really tough on a really strong rider. But it is, and from then on, they were always referred to as your dogs. Where are your dogs today? So you're all my dogs. Thank you.
You know what? If that's what 80 looks like,
I'll just say one.
I have no problem getting on my way to do that, Len. Just wow.
You guys all know me, and Len did a lot for me, and enabled me to do what I did, which I sort of regret. It's a long story, but he's a remarkably adaptable and smart person, and I'm just really thankful that I got to work with someone like Len. So it's a great privilege.
Thank you.
I mean, so many people have done stuff. Och, you've done amazing things, and it's just amazing what you've done for the sport. But today this is about you, Len. And, as you can see, all of us appreciate you, the effort you put into it, and the skill and intelligence you had, and the impact you had on so many people. Even for me at the end of my career, coming with Davis, I enjoyed that very much, and I learned a lot from it. And as you can see, all of us really appreciate you, care about you, and want the best for you.
Amen.
Hey,
Thanks much. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Len, happy birthday, man.
Happy birthday, Len.
All right.
Happy birthday, Len.
Great to see everybody.
Happy birthday, Len.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
All right.
What a great group.
Thank you,
everyone.
Danette.
Nice to see you.
Oh, you guys, it was great. Lots of fun. Happy birthday.